Okay, so we're going to get started with lesson 11. It's called subtracting decimals. That's a natural progression from the adding decimals to the last one. And it's very similar to the other ones where we're going to go over a few techniques. We'll share some that we use with adding decimals, but also go over a few new ones. So here's our warm up. And again, just kind of a review of doing some multi-digit subtraction. Shows a different way to find the difference. And we know that the difference is whatever answer you get for a subtraction problem. Sum is for adding, difference is for subtracting. So we put our larger number up first. And order does matter for subtraction, unlike it does for addition. So the first number you see for a subtraction problem goes on top, and the second number goes on the bottom. So let's make sure that's set up that way. And subtraction. And we do it place value by place value. We'll start with our ones place. 7 minus 4 is 3. The tens place, we'll do 5 minus 2, which is also 3. And our hundreds place, 4 minus 3, which equals 1. And our answer is 133. Open your textbook up to page 205. And we'll jump right into it. Again, these first session for a lesson are usually very short. So let's get started with this. The mass of a female hummingbird is 4.5 grams. So let's underline that part. The mass of a male hummingbird is 3.2 grams. What is the difference between the masses of the female and male hummingbirds? So for this one, a word problem, the order can be based on wherever you set it up. So naturally, if you want to find the difference between two numbers, you're subtracting. So let's put our bigger number up top. Here's our 4 and 5 tenths. And then we have 3 and 2 tenths. And then we subtract them. And 5 minus 2 is 3. Bring down your decimal point. And 4 minus 3 is 1. And don't forget to label it as 1.3 grams. On the next page, it says explain how you can find the difference between the masses of the female and male hummingbirds. Simply, we can say subtract the male mass from the female mass. And that's what we did in the previous page. Looking at this problem, you can subtract decimals in different ways, just like you can subtract whole numbers in different ways. So any strategy we go over with decimals is exactly the same for whole numbers. So again, the only difference with decimals is aligning your numbers by place value, which we've got a place value chart here, which helps us with that. Write the problem in the place value chart. So 2 and 98 hundredths is our first number, so that goes up top. And our next number is 2 and 56 hundredths, and we got that. And then we solve it. Start with the hundredths spot. 8 minus 6 is 2. 9 minus 5 is 4. Our decimal's already there, and 2 minus 2 is 0. You could leave that blank or just put a 0. I know with IXL, they kind of make sure that you put a 0 there. But honestly, it's whatever works. So here's a method that you can use if you're comfortable with it. I'm not going to push it by any means, and I don't recommend it, but let me show you how this works. So what this does is it sets up your two numbers, and you want to count the differences between them, as in like you want to count how many, in this case, tenths are between these two numbers. The problem is our number line is at tenths, and for these tick marks, and our number is actually in the hundredths. So If we look at this, the difference between 2.56 and 2.6 is 0.04. The difference between 2.6 and 2.9 is 0.3, or 3/10. And the difference between 2.9 and 2.98 is 0.08. And what you do is you add up all of those together, and then that gives you your answer of 0 and 42 hundredths. But obviously, this is the one that we kind of want to work towards. But I just want to show you a second method to doing it, just to illustrate that there's many options in math. All right, and lastly, how is subtracting decimals like subtracting whole numbers? Again, same rules. You line up numbers by their place value. And that's easily done and accurately done when you have both numbers have decimals, and you just line up the decimals. Again, if you have a whole number, let's go with 87. If you ever have a whole number and you have an adding or subtracting decimals problem, you can convert this to a decimal number by just putting 0.0, and that's the same as 87. But this gives you that reference point. It gives you that decimal to do your work. And speaking of work, your homework for this lesson is IXL H2, subtract decimal numbers. This one you only go to 70%, and I will not stretch this one out over several days. I'll just have you use this just for Monday, for today. And you can get a hold of me if you have any questions.